Hi, in this video, we're going to solve the CCC 2018 Junior 2 problem, occupied parking. I recommend you pause the video now, go read the problem, and try to solve it yourself. Solution in 3, 2, 1. All right. So we're supervising a parking lot with n parking spaces. Yesterday, we recorded which spots are occupied and which are empty. And today, we recorded the exact same thing. The question is, how many of the parking spaces were occupied both yesterday and today? Our input, the first number, starts with how many parking spots there are. The second line is the data from yesterday, and the third line is the data from today. C means there's a car there, it's occupied, and a dot means it's empty. Our output is just how many spaces are occupied yesterday and today. Let's think about it. So if we see here, this is occupied, empty, occupied, occupied. So that probably means this was occupied yesterday and today. This is empty, occupied, empty, empty, occupied, empty. So out of here, only the second parking spot was occupied both yesterday and today. And of course, the answer is 1. How might we go about solving this? Well, essentially what we're checking is for each parking spot are both the letters C. So we get our input, and let's call this top one Y, right? Y for yesterday, and then T for today. And this screams for loop to me because we're going to be going through each parking spot. So for each parking spot. So then we'll do our for loop, right? For from 0 to 5, or we might consider 0 to n, because in this case it was 5. And on each loop, we're going to check, is y at index I equal to t at index I? What does that mean? Well, we're doing a for loop, so at index 0, we're going to check here, is y at 0 equal to t at 0? Well, obviously not. All right, next loop, go to 1. Is y at 1 equal to t at 1? Oh, yes, it is. And what does that mean? Well, there's an additional parking spot that's occupied. So if that's true, question mark, then we're going to increase our count by 1, whatever that means. And this is essentially our algorithm. Let's code it. So the first step is always to understand the input and get it into a good format. I'll create a new file and I'll name it 2018 J2. All right. First order of business is to get this number, n, aka the number of parking spots. N equals int input. So we're getting the input from the CCC grader, and we're converting to integer because we want to work with numbers. All right, we'll call yesterday is equal to the input. So this is the next line here. This is yesterday's data. And note, there's no int because we actually want the string representation. And today, we're going to get the input too. So now we have our 3 pieces of data. Notice yesterday and today are both just straight inputs. We want the strings. We don't want integers because, well, how can that be an integer? It must be a string. And we're going to implement our algorithm. So for I is our iterating variable, stands for iteration, in range, and we're going to go from 0 to n. Because if this is index 0, we're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 is 1 less than n, which is 5. So we're going to go from 0 to n, and if you remember a shortcut, we don't actually have to put the 0. Range will start with 0 automatically. We're going to check is or if yesterday at position I equal to today at position I Then we'll do count plus equals 1. We'll increase the count by 1. And we should probably make a variable. We'll start count equals 0, and this represents how many parking spaces are both occupied. And this seems good, but let's think about one step further. What happens if they're both empty? Then the count will increase as well. We don't want that. So let's add in the back, and we check if either one is occupied, because that means the other one must be occupied too. So if yesterday, well, let's do today at I equals C, then we want to increase the count by 1. And once that's all done, we just want to print count. Let's see if it works. So our first piece of data, well, I'm not going to type it in. So we'll copy it and paste. All right, 1. All right, that's good. Let's see, how does the second one stack up? Wonderful. There we go, 4. So our solution works for the test data set. Now, does it work in the actual CCC grader? Let's try it. Refresh a bunch of times. And is in fact correct. Awesome. So in summary, what are we doing? Basically, in this section here, we're getting input. Excuse my writing. Count is how many occupied spaces that are in both. This is just our running count. And here, we're basically going through each spot. So we're going to go through each spot and check, is yesterday at that spot? So if the spot from yesterday is equal to today, and they're both C. If one is C, then they must both be C, right? Then we're going to increase the count by 1. After that, we have the number of spaces occupied in both yesterday and today, and we just print that onto the screen. That's here. That sums it up.